in that teaser trailer, which were very striking to me. And this was someone who was not familiar with the material. I took it just as a kind of a cookie jar of wonderful things that he could just use in any possible way, unrestrained by my concepts, maybe not even having read the script, and puts together some images side by side that I wouldn't have thought to put together. And suddenly that is illuminating. Even if I don't use them exactly that way, it can be quite revealing to me. So there is randomness, there is this kind of cut-up, certainly in editing technique, that is not completely random, but there is randomness involved. I mean, I could go back and re-edit all my films and come up with completely different versions of them. And at this distance, I probably would, if I were to edit any one of those two films, either of those two films, having all the rushes and forgetting what I did, because I basically do forget. I'm looking at these, I'm saying, well, that's interesting. I don't remember this at all. I mean, in a small sense I do, but I don't remember the moment for most of those shots. I would come up with something quite different, I have a feeling. So there is that randomness exists.
What's going on here? Wait, this is a heinous mistake you're making. They do something, stop them.
He's got a gun, Clark Nova. You don't want to lose your best agent.
You're going to have to write a full report, Lee. And I mean full.
Well, how am I going to write it? Longhand?
Will you take this back up? This is insubordination. You're all going to pay for this. And you're going to roll. You're going to get it.
Your days in Interzone are numbered, Lee. I suggest you give up the writing game. Make tracks for another part of the world.
You guys are going to...
I think it's really a good example of the importance of birth in your movies. I mean, in The Fly and in this sequence especially, it's very clear that Brundle is coming to life in an egg form machine. In Dead Ringers, the two twins are obstetrician. Why is this theme so important for you?
Well, it's funny because when you say that, I find myself resisting, you know, and I say, no, it's not birth here. It's transformation, you know, and maybe it's transcendence, and I mean, birth is an important event, obviously, for many reasons, and most of them obvious. But maybe it's really rebirth we're talking about, you know, and transformation, change that's so substantial that it is almost equivalent to being reborn. I think that's really what I'm more interested in than just birth itself as a start. I mean, of course, birth is the beginning of everything, but a rebirth is a more complex thing. You're not starting from scratch. You're not starting from zero. I remember when I was thinking of my own children and thinking of the second one and the third one, thinking, my God, you know, we have to teach them everything. Whoever it is will have to be taught everything again. It is overwhelming to think that. But if it's a rebirth, a transformation, I mean, it's a rebirth is not at the same thing. There's so much of what was there before is still there, and that's a fascinating thing to me, because I think we're constantly regenerating ourselves, reinventing ourselves, and so it's that creative act. It's a more to me. I think it's more really what I'm more interested in, and in the of course in The Fly, where I delivered on screen, but with a mask. The Fly Baby in the dream sequence. Once again, it's not really a birth; it's an invention. I'm almost more interested in not the just biological fact of birth, but the creative fact of human rebirth. The idea that we are reinventing ourselves, or we are reinventing something, reinventing the world. And I think that's what, when you say that, I think that's where the resistance is in me. The first thing I was going to say is, no, I'm not interested in birth particularly at all. Of course, when you add up the evidence, you have a good case, But I think it's really more than that.
The second point, of course, would be that I think Goya said that the nightmares of the thought give birth to monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of your movies, whether it is birth or rebirth, the result is almost always what could be called a monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do think that monstrosity is a relative thing. I mean, it's we love, and times have changed since Goya too. I mean, in ways that would certainly astonish him. What might be considered monstrous in one era becomes the normality of the next era. It happens even physically. I mean, humans physically would have been monstrosities put amongst the original hominids, So I think we would love to have stability, and we would love to have absolutes, and we have to invent them because they don't really exist. I think there are no absolutes, and so I think that's I'm fascinated by the creativity of what it is to be human, of human existence. It's constantly creative in ways that we're not even aware of. I mean, well, not normally aware of, in the sense of reality, in the sense of what we consider to be normality, reality. All of those things are constantly shifting and changing. And so it's monstrous, but it's exciting too, and it's I don't always see them as negatives,
You're relics. Yes, you are. You can't deny it. Vestigial, archaeological, redundant. Artifacts of a bygone era. Of historical interest only.
Well, for example, as Brundle begins to deteriorate and becomes hideous, he speaks for me. He says, I'm not sure that this is a bad thing, He says, I'm not sure that maybe this is more godlike, what I'm turning into. Maybe the other is a sort of a mere superficial aesthetic thing. But this creature that I'm becoming, as parts of my body become irrelevant, and I put them in this little museum, and to remind myself of where I was, but this new creature that I am, which on the surface might be ugly and hideous and horrible, and a deterioration, is in fact a recreation. And here we have a rebirth. That's another rebirth, a transformation into something that if I change my sense of aesthetics, and I change my sense of morality, I can see that what I'm becoming is actually a superior thing, or at least an equally good thing. So that's the play that's going on in the movie. He's, by force of will, not accepting himself at face value, because the face is too hideous to accept at face value.
Well, I was showing that sequence of Brundle Fly discovering his image in a mirror.